Hi, so today I'm going to do a video on how to make a very basic, simple techno beat, sort of a warehouse style techno beat using only a couple instruments for those that are perhaps starting out wanting to make this kind of music. And for this example, I'm going to use the sounds from our newest sample pack release called Basement Tracks 808, which is where we take an old 808 and do a lot of twisting and processing to the sounds to come up with a whole new take on them, and ones that are very suitable for those who are into making lo-fi music or techno music. So to get started, we'll just do 5 simple tracks first. We'll do a kick, a sub, a clap, a hi-hat, and a percussion sound. And jumping in here, starting off with the bass drum, what I want to do is I want to try to use the same sound for the kick and the sub and this, and that way I know that they'll be in tune, and then sonically and texturally they should match up pretty well for the track. So let's listen to a couple of these sounds. This might be a nice one here. It's got a nice sort of subby end to it. So we'll take this, we'll drop it in here. We'll draw our simple 4 on the floor pattern. And maybe we'll boost the volumes up on these and maybe just drop every other one down so there's a little subtle change in the volume for these. On top of that, what I like to do with all of my digital sounds in Ableton is to put a little lo-fi on them, a little lo-fi modulation on them so that they don't sound like carbon copies. I actually did a video on this called Faking Analog, and what you do is you just put just a couple small percent, maybe on the volume and on the pitch, take the re-trigger off, and then turn the LFO down. And what that does is it'll just change the tonality of the sounds just a little bit so that they don't sound like carbon copies. So let's see how this sounds here. So we're going to want to shorten this sound. It sounds pretty long. That sounds pretty good. And we'll just take this same sound and we'll drop it into, well, let's do this. We'll select the sub channel and we'll drop this in here. And we're going to want to cut off the front of that because we just want sort of the end subby sound there. And for this, we'll just draw again a simple pattern. And for techno, a lot of times they're just sort of 2 beat patterns that are repeated, sometimes with a subtle change, so we can do something like that, or we can take the whole group of notes and maybe move over one, and that's how you get like that very basic techno pattern. So let's hear how this sounds. So we'll want to slow the attack on this, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to throw, I did a video called Dirty Lo-Fi Techno Subs, which is how to make those really nice warehousey subs that you hear in a lot of tracks. And I built a rack in there. So if we go into presets, audio effect rack, I have this rack here called Techno Kick God, which is basically you have a reverb, then some compression, and a filter after it. And so we'll turn the reverb on here. We'll solo this. Maybe shorten this up a little bit. Something like that. And then we're just going to resample that sound. And maybe process it a second time. So then we'll delete this track. Make this a 2-bar loop again, and we'll throw this guy on there again. This time we'll keep the reverb off, and maybe then we'll just resample this one more time so we don't have any processing on the channel. Put it in resample mode. Turn this off. Delete this. And let's see how it sounds now. Sounds pretty good. The last thing I would do with this is you want to make sure that all those deep low subs and kicks are in mono. And since we had a reverb on that, it panned it out into a stereo field. So we put a utility on it, put it in 0%. And just like that, you get a nice techno sub to go with the kick. So the other thing I would do with these two sounds is I would put a compressor right here on the kick just to give it a little more bite. And you just have the attack set just so that you can get the initial hit of that kick through, just to keep it punchy, and just kind of that way you get control over those low frequencies. And then for our sub here, we will put a compressor on it as well. And we're just going to side chain this to the kick so that they don't compete with each other. You make this a little faster. So that's that. That's how you can get a kick and a sub rather quickly, and using the same sound. If you can find a nice long, elongated sound like that, and you can cut them up and get the same, get those two instruments out of it. It's a really nice way to do that. If we go back into our sample pack here, we'll try to find a clap sound or a snare sound. And we'll try the snare folder here. That's kind of, I think that would work for us. It's got a nice clocky beginning. You can tell a lot of these sounds are pretty long and there's a lot of texture to them. And we did it like that on purpose so that you can get a lot more out of these sounds and find little bits of goodness in there. So let's put this here and this there. And I think with these I like to try to change the length of these just a little bit. And maybe turn one down a little bit. And let's see how this sounds. Same thing, we'll turn the sustain down, shorten it up. That works for me for a very basic clap. If you get the right sound, you can just kind of go with that. Now obviously I would put reverb on this clap as well, but for this example, I think we'll just leave that off. So, and I think we could take this clap sound here and duplicate this and see if we can also get a hi-hat sound out of here. So if we take our sound here, put it on the upbeat and maybe shift it up a couple octaves. See how this sounds. And maybe slighten the attack. And then we can also put a little high pass filter on this. That kind of works. We'll call this our hi-hat. And then again, if we take our clap again here and duplicate it, let's see if we can also get a percussion sound out of it. So right now we just have two sounds making all the instruments in our beat here. So we'll call this perk. Let's see if we can. So in this, we're just going to do another very simple pattern here. Techno's all about, these days is all about simplicity generally, and being very minimal with your instruments. So let's see here. And let's do some filtering to this. And we'll also put the filter envelope on here. Now I think we should also do our LFO trick to these two. put them on just a couple percent. We'll do the same thing to the clap. Make this 3 and 1, just do some subtle variations there. Turn this down a bit. Same thing on this. Now I think what I would like to do is maybe try to layer this. Let's put one more MIDI track on here and see if we can come up with another hi-hat sound to layer under here. Try the maracas. What was that one? This one, maybe this. See if we can do the same thing here. Drop that in there. We take this. Let's see, maybe we should lower this down a little bit. That's better. And I think maybe this time, instead of having the pattern exactly the same, if we start here, we can have the short one for the first of this little shaker here, and the long one is the second one. Just so there's a little bit of... Another thing I like to do when you're layering sounds is click on this D down here. This delays your track a little bit, and we can maybe pull this back so they're not right on top of each other, but just to make them a little thicker. And then lastly, on this percussion, I think maybe we get some sort of a simple delay on there, just to give it a little bit more movement. And I love these Togu audio plugins. They're free and they're very good. This Dub 2 is a really nice sort of analog style delay that has a nice drive knob on it and a filter section as well. And we'll link these together, maybe do this and turn the feedback down. And so kind of the idea with this percussion is so that it talks to the sub, so that it's kind of answering the sub line. So you get that sort of call and response that kind of helps also to gel things together. So something like that. So that's basically it. That's just a really simple techno beat that you can make, and I think we only use 3 sounds in this whole for this whole drum beat, and I think it helps to kind of gel the drum beat together, makes it sonically cohesive. And perhaps the last thing I would do on this is just try to gel this together. So if you hit Command G, select all the tracks, hit Command G, you can group it, and then if you can throw a glue compressor on here and put some subtle compression on it to just kind of help get the whole thing glued together and pump a little bit. And we'll put that 3, and then the attack, I usually find that either the 3 or the 10 is the best. That way you get a little bit of the attack coming through and you don't squash the whole thing. And you do a fast release somewhere around here, usually 4 to 0.2, 0.4 milliseconds, and you get a nice little pumping feeling to it. And of course, adding some reverb and stuff would be great to this. But here's just a basic way that you can go about creating a nice warehousey techno beat using only a couple sounds. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see more videos as I make them, hit the subscribe button, and check out the sample pack too at brightredsound.com. Thanks for listening. Bye.